left prison 5 years after?
Well, pretty much straight away, Juliet was whisked away to Italy and reunited with her father. Mm-hmm. And from there, she drops off the map, so to speak, and isn't heard of again until much, much, much later, when she...
With a new name, that is Anne Perry, that for those who are fans of the black novel crime literature, they will know her because she's a best-selling author, and it's still alive. And so is Pauline, but with a different name. Mm-hmm. She changed her name to Hilary Nathan.
That's right, and she was around... After her release, she stayed in New Zealand for some time. However, she moved to... After her release, she spent some time in New Zealand and...
Studied to become a librarian. Mm-hmm. And afterwards, she moved to England.
Yeah, where she was found some years later to be living in Kent.
Which is
in the south of England. So she moved to Kent, said to have moved to Kent, and was discovered there by some particularly impressive investigative journalism carried out by a New Zealand reporter in the mid-90s.
She had become a devout Catholic, and they are both still alive. Hilary, that is Pauline, teaches children how to ride horses, and Anne Perry became internationally famous with her books and adaptations. She lived for a while in the United States, mm-hmm. just like they once wished with her best friend, but she now lives in England, in Scotland, actually.
That's right, in the Orkney Islands. However, Hilary would later move also to the north of Scotland. So in mm-hmm. actual fact, they're not that far from each other, though it has been stated irrefutably by Anne Perry that they have, since the release, never reunited and never met. And they have not, and as far as she knows, and as far as she is concerned, they will never meet again. They have no intention of reuniting.
And in a documentary made about Anne Perry, that is Anne Perry Interiors, she's, at some point the issue of the murder comes to be discussed. And what does she say about, because what people think is like they had a romantic relationship, the murder.
Well, she said that they definitely had an obsessive relationship, but there was absolutely nothing sexual mm-hmm. in regards to their relationship. And I believe that while inhabiting their characters, and they were said to have role-played, mm-hmm. the intimate scenes between various characters, that it was, while sexual in nature, was still disembodied through, and not necessarily them initiating actions themselves, rather than deep, deep, deep role play.
She would say that there was nothing sexy about it, which is a funny way of saying it. Mm. But her nowadays testimony, she claims that she always knew that what they were doing was wrong, mm. that she was just following through with Pauline's plan because she was honestly scared that she would commit suicide, that nowadays she knows that what Pauline was suffering was from bulimia. I think she says that she could smell the odor of vomit, and that she was skin and bones, and she just felt like she owed her loyalty because she had stick with her when she was sick mm-hmm. of tuberculosis.
Whether that's true or not, I guess we go with what she says, or we can debate that amongst ourselves. However, reports of the time, and also if we're going by Pauline's diary, would suggest that they were at one time very, very deeply immersed in as you've said, what could be considered a folie à deux, particularly living in their own fantasy world and coming up with their own entire religion or religious beliefs, and the shared hallucination or
they just built a world that was much better and pleasant than the reality that they had to live.
And they were allowed and encouraged to be in each other's company and indulge in these in this
Games
constructed
and adventures.
world and constructed adventures, and that they were nourishing each other's intellect and creativity.
Because no one else could really do it.
Yeah.
Perhaps. I mean, it's not like we are excusing them, but they were really synced in a rapture with the real world. We feel it's very sad. It's the insanity plea was rejected. They were taken. Mm-hmm. They were sentenced guilty of the crime. But I was thinking that even if, I don't know, because those doctors that spoke, they didn't talk about folie à deux, but they were really nailing the point of what the girl's mentality was at that time. I'm thinking that since it seemed, or it was maybe very likely that they have a romantic relationship, even if they had been sent to a mental institution, it's very likely that they wouldn't have gotten like the real treatment that they deserve, because it wasn't about the relationship as in being a homosexual relationship. It was the delusion and the attachment issue and also the rejection of the reality.
And also, yeah, exactly, some of what you could consider shared psychosis.
Mm-hmm. The thing, when we were listening to Dr. Todd Grundy talking about folie à deux and mystical illusions, in his professional opinion, he believes that there are cases that most of the cases lead to violence, and they are, we're not saying that mentally ill people are violent.
No.
But in this construct, it's very common to see very violent crime.
Especially when
not because the people that they are suffering are sadist or evil or malignant or manipulative. The things that when a person or a few people are on a mystical delusion, they truly believe that they are exceptional beings. Therefore, the rules of this world don't apply to them, and the limits for this world don't apply for them. And the separation of the dyad, it's basically what puts the delusion on danger. It's like being separated. That's what is going to split the world.
So they almost act defensively to protect their...
And they would do anything to protect it, which I think it's what the girls did at the end.
Yep. It's also interesting when we were watching the talk that the author of the book...
So Brilliantly Clever by Peter Graham
was giving at the library. It had some pictures of Hillary, Pauline, of her house. She lived on a fairly remote rural farmhouse and by all accounts, kept to herself when she wasn't teaching kids to ride horses. But she left extremely quickly, packed up and left overnight when it was discovered her true identity. And some of the artwork that she left behind in the form of murals and almost stained glass window type pictures would indicate that perhaps it was still on her mind the fantasy and Barovnia. And Barovnia and the fourth world were still things that she would reminisce about, or that she truly had never gotten over, as would be evidenced by some of the pictures of knights and divine priestesses and ascending angels and goddesses who would bear striking resemblances to both her and Juliet.
A blonde girl and a brunette girl.
One particular picture denoted the brunette girl with scars on her left leg, which one eagle-eyed crowd member would point out in one of these book signing lectures.
To close, would you like to read a piece of epic poetry, please?
I would be pleased to.
Well, this is poetry that was found on Pauline Parker 1953 diary.
Okay. This piece is called The Ones That I Worship. There are living amongst 2 dutiful daughters of a man who possesses 2 beautiful daughters, the most glorious beings in creation. They'd be the pride and joy of any nation. You cannot know, nor yet try to guess the sweet soothingness of their caress. The outstanding genius of this pair is understood by few, they are so rare. Compared with these 2, every man is a fool. The world is most honoured that they would deign to rule, and above us the goddesses reign on high. I worship the power of these lovely 2, with the adorning love known to so few. 'Tis indeed a miracle one must feel, that 2 such heavenly creatures are real. Both sets of eyes, though different far, hold many mysteries strange. Impassively they watch the race of man decay and change. Hatred burning bright in the brown eyes, with enemies for fuel, icy scorn glitters in the grey eyes, contemptuous and cruel. Why are men such fools? They will not realise the wisdom that is hidden behind those strange eyes. And these wonderful people are you and I.
That was the Parker Hunt Keynes, The Heavenly Creatures from Christchurch, New Zealand.
Thank you for listening to the 2nd episode of A History of Evil Men.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks again for listening. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, you can find us on social media. Our Instagram is A History of Evil Men. That's all in one word, so just search for that. Our Facebook is A History of Evil Men, a true crime podcast. And if you'd like to email us, our address is ahistoryofelmen@gmail.com. No spaces in that, that's all one word. And if you'd like to support us, our Patreon is A History of Evil Men. Same as before, all one word. Thanks again for listening.